They tried to silence him. They tried to outnumber him. They tried to erase him from the main event picture. And on February 16th, 2026, they made the single biggest mistake of their lives because they pushed LA Knight too far. Last night on WWE Raw, the arena didn't just shake, it detonated. What started as another calculated power play by the Vision turned into an all-out declaration of war. And if you thought LA Knight was done after weeks of being ambushed, humiliated, and blindsided, you clearly forgot one thing. He doesn't back down. He escalates. And what he did next? Nobody, and I mean nobody, saw it coming. Before we go any further, let me ask you something. If you were outnumbered 3-1 by the most dominant faction on Raw, who would you call to even the odds? Drop your answer in the comments right now. I want names. Because LA Knight didn't just call anyone. He called family. The show opened with the Vision standing in the center of the ring like they own the company.
Calm. Smug.
Calculated. The kind of arrogance that only comes from knowing you've been running the show uncontested for weeks. They replayed the footage from last week. LA Knight laid out, steel chair bent around his spine, left staring at the lights while the Vision stood tall over him. Again. And then they did something that made the crowd erupt in fury. They laughed. They said LA Knight was a flash in the pan. They said his catchphrases don't win wars. They said charisma doesn't survive strategy. One member even said, Knight is loud. We are inevitable. I need you to think about that word for a second. Inevitable. Because that's the exact word factions use right before they fall. Do you think the Vision got too comfortable? Or were they right about LA Knight being outmatched? Be honest, I'm reading those comments. Then the lights dimmed. Not fully. Just enough. And the arena changed. You know that feeling when the crowd starts buzzing before the music even hits? That electric, hair standing up on your arm type of anticipation?
Yeah, that.
LA Knight's music blasted through the speakers, and the roof nearly came off the building. But this wasn't the same LA Knight we've seen the past few weeks. No smirk. No playful swagger. No games. He walked down that ramp with the kind of focus you only see in fighters who are done talking. He stepped into the ring, grabbed a microphone, and stared straight into the Vision. And what he said next might go down as one of the most defining promos of his career. You want to talk about inevitable? Let me tell you something. You don't get inevitable by jumping a man from behind. You don't get inevitable by stacking the deck. You get inevitable when the whole world knows you're coming and they still can't stop you. The crowd was hanging on every word. He admitted it. 3-on-1? That's bad math. But then he smiled. Good thing I made a phone call. The Vision looked confused. The crowd leaned forward. And that's when the energy shifted from tense to nuclear. The music hit. And if you didn't feel chills at home, check your pulse. Out walked Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso. The Usos. The reaction was deafening. The camera caught fans jumping out of their seats. Some couldn't believe it. Others were screaming before the brothers even stepped fully onto the stage. Let me ask you this. Did you expect the Usos to align with LA Knight? Yes or no? Because nobody, and I mean nobody, predicted that move. For weeks, the Usos had been floating in uncertain territory. Not fully aligned with anyone. Not officially tied to any faction. Watching. Waiting. And now, they chose a side. They walked down that ramp shoulder to shoulder with LA Knight, and you could feel it. This wasn't a temporary truce. This was war. The Vision tried to regroup. You could see them shouting at each other. Pointing. Strategizing. But confidence?
Gone.
Because the numbers were no longer in their favor. LA Knight stepped forward and said, You boys like numbers? Let's count again. The crowd counted with him.
1, 2, 3.
3-on-3. Perfect balance. The tension was unbearable. And then chaos exploded. The first punch came from Jey. The ring turned into a battlefield instantly. No slow build. No waiting for the bell. Jimmy launched one member of the Vision over the top rope. LA Knight cornered another and unleashed those rapid-fire strikes that make the crowd roar louder with each hit. For the first time in weeks, the Vision wasn't controlling the narrative. They were surviving. And they weren't doing a great job of it. Outside the ring, steel steps were introduced. Inside the ring, super kicks started flying.
1, 2, 3.
Every time a super kick landed, the crowd popped harder. Let me throw this at you. Who has the best super kick in WWE right now? Jimmy or Jay? Or someone else entirely? Sound off below. But here's where it gets even more interesting. This wasn't just a beatdown. This was strategic. The Usos cut off the ring like surgeons. LA Knight didn't rush in recklessly. He picked his spots. He waited.
He capitalized.
At one point, the Vision tried to retreat up the ramp. Bad idea. Jimmy and Jay blocked the exit.
Trapped.
Cornered. And LA Knight hit the BFT on the stage. The visual was brutal. The message was clear. The Vision is no longer untouchable. But the night wasn't over. Not even close. Backstage, the cameras caught the Vision regrouping. Furious. Embarrassed. They demanded a six-man tag match next week. They called it a fluke. They said LA Knight needed backup because he couldn't get it done alone. And that's when something subtle happened. One member of the Vision hesitated. Just slightly. Did you catch that? Because I did. And cracks in a faction are more dangerous than any opponent. Do you think someone in the Vision is going to betray the group? If so, who? Later in the night, LA Knight and the Usos were interviewed backstage. This is where the story got deeper.
Jimmy talked about respect.
Jay talked about unfinished business. LA Knight talked about momentum. He didn't claim to be their leader. He didn't call it a faction. He called it an alliance. That word matters. Alliances are built on shared enemies. Factions are built on control. And right now, control is exactly what the Vision is losing. Let's break this down for a second. For months, the Vision has manipulated match outcomes, interfered in title defenses, taken out rising stars before they could build momentum. They built their empire on numbers and timing. But what happens when someone matches their numbers and outmatches their intensity? You get what we saw on February 16th. A shift. A power shift. And if you think this is just a temporary storyline bump, you're not paying attention. Because WWE doesn't accidentally create moments like this. They plant seeds. And this one, it's growing fast. Now here's something nobody's talking about. The Usos didn't just help LA Knight. They sent a message to the entire locker room. They're back in the mix. And when they're aligned with someone as explosively popular as LA Knight, that's not mid-card energy. That's main event chaos. Question for you. If this alliance sticks, should they go after tag gold first? Or should LA Knight focus on singles championship glory? Pick a direction and defend it in the comments. The closing moments of Raw sealed it. The Vision tried one last sneak attack during the main event. Lights flickered. Camera cut to the crowd. Classic misdirection. But this time, LA Knight was ready. The Usos were waiting. The ambush failed. LA Knight standing in the center of the ring. The Usos flanking him. The Vision retreating up the ramp. For the first time in weeks, looking uncertain. Let's talk long-term implications. If this escalates into a six-man war at the next premium live event, it could redefine the power structure on Raw. If the Vision loses clean, their aura takes a massive hit. If LA Knight's team wins decisively, we're looking at a potential championship run in the near future. And here's the real kicker. Momentum in WWE isn't just about wins. It's about reactions. And the reaction last night? Off the charts. I want you to imagine something. What if this alliance evolves? What if it becomes something bigger? Not a faction built on dominance, but one built on respect. LA Knight's charisma. Jimmy's fire. Jay's intensity. That's a volatile combination. And volatility in wrestling creates unforgettable moments. But don't get it twisted. The Vision isn't finished. Groups that methodical don't crumble overnight. They adapt. They retaliate. And if there's one thing we've learned about dominant factions in WWE history, it's this. When they feel threatened, they get dangerous. So, here's the question that might decide everything. Was February 16th the beginning of the Vision's downfall, or the spark that ignites their most ruthless phase yet? Think about that. Because next week's six-man tag isn't just a match. It's a statement. And let's be real for a second. LA Knight needed this. After weeks of being outnumbered, some fans started whispering. Was he losing steam? Was the crowd cooling off? Last night shut that down immediately. The energy was back. The confidence was back. The danger was back. And when LA Knight is dangerous, everybody pays attention. One last thing. The camera caught something after Raw went off the air. The Usos and LA Knight didn't celebrate long. They talked. Seriously. Strategically. No laughing. No joking. This wasn't a one-night stunt. This felt planned. Calculated. Intentional. Which means the Vision might be walking straight into a trap of their own making. So I'll leave you with this. If you were booking this storyline, does the Vision win next week to regain control? Or does LA Knight and the Usos steamroll them and reshape Raw entirely? Fantasy book it in the comments. And while you're at it, who takes the pin? Because that detail? That's where the real story lies. February 16th wasn't just another episode. It was a turning point, a line in the sand. And if the reaction is anything to go by, we are heading towards something explosive. The Vision thought they were inevitable. But inevitability doesn't survive resistance. And resistance just found backup.
Yeah.